Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Monday edition of your JP Peterson Show. We thank you guys so much for listening. We got a whole new look today. We got all our beautiful sponsors down at the bottom there. A little crisp camera. We got some new things coming on our set coming up. 2023 is going to be a very, very exciting year for the JP Peterson Show. We're so happy you guys are on us. Last week we had our biggest numbers ever, so we really appreciate you guys joining us. WATB is our Facebook page that we're also working with now. Our DSP media partnership is burgeoning as well. So we really appreciate you guys for jumping on. And we're going to have a lot of fun today, as we always do, and inform you, give you the best local sports talk that we can possibly give you. 2 hours each and every day, Tampa Bay sports centric. You can always listen live at 10 to 12 and then listen as a podcast on Apple or Spotify or on Twitter, anywhere. We're everywhere. So we really appreciate you guys jumping aboard. Interesting weekend, lots to get to today. Rich Hollenberg's going to join us from Bally's Sports, talk a little Rays baseball and some other things he's got going on. Always fun to talk with Rich. He's doing college basketball right now, and I have to admit, I've watched very little college basketball, except this weekend I did tune into a little bit of USF kicking the crap out of UCF. Good morning. Oh, hey, Nick. What's up? How are you? Men's and women's. Of course, the women are used to it.
Can't bring me in like that. Come on now.
I just did.
Come on now.
I just did.
Hey, the excuse train is rolling. The women's team is rebuilding, and the men, we were a little banged up. We were a little banged up.
Yeah. All right. Just imagine if USF actually would have remained with some nuts and won the actual football game, how down UCF would be right now.
Oh, my goodness.
That would be the worst thing ever.
It would. It would. These UCF, they wouldn't know how to cope.
I know.
They wouldn't know how to cope,
limping
man.
into the Big 12. Yeah, be limping in. But anyway, that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about Tom Brady, some interesting developments over the weekend. Will he be staying in Tampa Bay? We'll get to that in just a second. We got all the playoffs stuff to talk about. It's funny because I watch all these games now with a perspective of what do the Bucs need to do to get back to that level. Do you find yourself doing that? It's like, look what they're doing.
Game.
Oh, look what they're doing. How come we don't do that? How come the Bucs don't do that? Well, thank God Byron Leftwich is gone, and that this hybrid offense that we've had. And the big question is there going to be a rebuild? Is Brady coming back? We'll get to that in just a second. But we're also going to be talking about all the playoff games yesterday. And I'm here to tell you, and you can I haven't checked the odds yet, but Joe Burrow is winning the Super Bowl this year. The Bengals and Joe Burrow are winning the Super Bowl this year. As you know, I've said for a while now, I think Joe Burrow is ascending to be the best quarterback in this game. And I think we can confidently say that now. What that dude did in the snow in Buffalo, with the pinpoint passing, the accuracy, the coolness in which he operates, the level of confidence, it's Brady-esque. It's Brady-esque. And it is phenomenal to watch. That kid is super cool Joe, whatever you want to call him. He's got the swag. He's got the confidence. And whoever in the NFL thought it was a good idea to put out that neutral site thing we're selling tickets for the Atlanta game, boy, I can just tell you this, the Buffalo Bills are not happy about that, because clearly that put an even bigger chip on his shoulder. And damn.
Yeah, we got 50,000 tickets plus to refund today.
Yeah.
50,000 plus to refund.
I'm sure the NFL will take about 6 weeks, use your money in the market, and make another $3 billion or whatever. But they'll get the money back to you. Don't worry. That'll happen soon.
You'll be paying it when tax season comes anyway.
You want to roll it over into your NFL? it's your
Do you want a voucher to the NFLshop.com?
Yeah,
which we don't control, by the way.
Where we make 95% profit on. Yeah, that would be great. Sure, we'll give you a 2-for-1 BOGO. All right, so let's just get to the meat of it. Tom Brady this weekend said nothing. So all we got to do is speculate, right? You asked an interesting question. You think he's going to be on his podcast tonight? I would think so. His well-sponsored podcast, he will definitely show up for that.
He's not going to hide from this, I don't think.
No, he can't.
No, he showed up. There's been a lot of times where he probably did not feel like going on this podcast throughout the season.
Right.
And he still did.
Right.
Give him credit. Aaron Rodgers had to do the same thing with McAfee. Now, he
Yeah.
did that willingly. No one was forcing him.
Yeah.
He was willingly doing it.
And that wasn't well sponsored. Maybe he's getting paid.
Oh, that's pretty well sponsored.
Is
The
it?
McAfee
Yeah.
show is pretty well sponsored.
No, it is. I know. But did you think, did he pay Aaron to be on? I wonder.
I don't know. I think he's cutting McAfee a nice little deal, regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
But regardless, he's had to answer for it. Brady's going to have to answer for it. So I think I'm going to be curious to see because Jim Gray has a great way of articulating his questions, right?
Right.
And he knows Brady better than most media members, if not all media members. So
of course, yeah.
I'm interested to know what the verbiage is going to be like because he's going to ask the questions. He usually doesn't pull punches.
No, he doesn't. And I think, of course, all of this is carefully gone over beforehand, and Brady knows what his answers are going to be.
Correct.
Yeah, there's no happenstance when it comes to anything on his well-sponsored podcast, which, by the way, I don't say that pejoratively. I say it, hey, that's what it is. And, why give us hacks, real good answers in the media when you can go on your well-sponsored podcast and that be the place where you disseminate your information. It was always going to be this way for players and when they figured it out. And if you're big enough like Tom Brady, you can do that. So, and most players are going to have their own podcast anyway by the time it's all done. So, anyway, so a couple of things did happen. There was an Ian Rappaport report. He came on, I guess it was NFL Network. And do we have the audio? Let's play the audio, and then we'll talk about some of the other things. So here's Ian Rappaport on Brady.
Rich, Tom Brady plans to take some time away from football, step back, spend some time with his kids, and really consider his options. His goal is to not make a decision immediately, come out of this with a clear head. However, my understanding is, talking to some of his teammates with the Buccaneers, they came away with their final interaction with Tom Brady as if he was leaving Tampa for good. That is what they felt like, that he was saying goodbye, not to return. And if that was the case, he would leave behind a $35 million dead cap hit. And you really do wonder, would the Bucs rebuild amid all of that? So Tom Brady's option, if that is the case, if he's not going to return to Tampa, one would be retire, which is certainly a very real option. Another would be play for another team. He is, of course, a free agent. Among those options, Tennessee Titans, Las Vegas Raiders, and maybe the 49ers, Rich.
All right, so the only thing that's kind of new there really is that Rappaport talked to some of his teammates, and their feeling was that he's leaving. Now, I put a little post out there this weekend after that, just saying, here's what I think. And I've had two sources within the organization tell me they believe, one a player, one an administrator, that they believe Tom demeanor was that he was going to he was leaving. Now, one of the other people in the organization said, but I would expect that because he doesn't know what he wants to do. He got the feeling it was more of a, I probably, I'm going to take some time, not sure what I'm going to do, but just in case I'm not back, bye-bye. You know what I'm saying? It's in case I don't come back. It was more, and that's kind of the feeling that I got with his podium exit was, hey, organization's been great to me. I want to make sure I get that out there if I do leave. He didn't say if I do leave, but I kind of get that feeling like, hey, it's been great. If I may not have this chance again, so I'm going to go ahead and say it now. Thank you guys for everything. I'm not saying goodbye, but thank you guys. So I think we got to kind of temper it in that vein, because I honestly believe Tom does not know yet. We said this last week, but I think he has not decided yet.
I don't think he's decided at all yet, but I think if we're leaning towards one thing, is that he definitely wants to play.
Yeah, well, I think he definitely wants to play.
It feels like he definitely wants to play.
Definitely wants to play.
Regardless. Now, where that's going to be, that's the $1 million question. But
I think he wants to. I don't think he wants this to be his last year for multiple reasons, because he knows that his head wasn't in it. His head wasn't in it. He wasn't healthy in terms of, he had the finger. There may have been a shoulder issue, and this was broken from the start. He just wasn't the same guy. And as we always said, preparation and his cerebral way that he plays the game has always been Brady's superpower, certainly not his athleticism and his accuracy and his velocity of those things. And he still has he didn't have the accuracy this year. Something was up with that. And I think that was also mental as well. So I don't think he wants to, even if he's not going to win a Super Bowl, I think he wants to come back at least with a clear head and clear preparation. And he knows that he can, whatever situation he picks is going to be a good situation. And the team is going to be competitive. and he probably believes he's going to have a much better year and outcome. And I would think that too, because if you really go down and break down what happened this year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so much of it went wrong. It's almost like he never really had the true situation that he desired, right? And as we've kind of said this, that with Brady, you have to have everything perfect around him. Okay, at this point of his career. And that's exactly what we did in 2020 and most of 21. When that perfection eroded late in the season in 21, we started to see the chinks in the armor, right? There's too much to deal with here. Stationary quarterback, can't do the RPOs, can't do a lot of the bootlegs, can't do a lot of different things. Got to have elite offensive line, got to have elite targets. This is what we did. And then in late 21, that started to crumble with the offensive line a little bit. Then Gronk was injured for a little while. No AB at the end. No Godwin at the end. The offense was a shambles, right? And then most of this year, offensive line was not elite. Targets, 80% Godwin. By the end of the season, Evans clearly not on the same page for whatever reason. Who knows? Brady's mental preparation was not there. Physical preparation was questionable as well. I mean, at all, right? That just, and it didn't go well. So I think he believes if he can recapture the surrounding magic, that he can do it again. Problem is, the NFL, just like this season for the Buccaneers, you don't know what's coming at you. You don't know what injuries you're going to have. When Ryan Jensen went down and the Bucs did not make a bold move to replace him, like we said they should on day one, that to me was the end of the season. That was the beginning of the end of the season. Not the only reason, but the beginning of the end of the season. So as we sit here today, let's listen to Gronk. Gronk was on the Fox pregame show, which, by the way, he's a great broadcaster. He is going to be in the booth for a long, long time. I think he's the next Terry Bradshaw.
That's funny because a lot of people were not happy with his performance the other day.
I didn't watch the whole thing. I can't watch the whole pregame show. I think there was
one, I think the Eagles. Now I'm getting messed up here. They have somebody on their staff. I think his name is Shane Steichen, Steichen or something like that. And I think he called him Shane Spikeman is how he said it.
Yeah.
And everybody was
he'll
like,
clean that up.
I mean, those are so minor,
Yeah, he'll clean that up. But it's his personality.
But the personality.
His knowledge of the game kind of strikes me like Bradshaw, because everybody thinks they're dumb. He's dumb, but he's not really dumb. And he'll say what's on his mind, which is also good.
Certainly knows more than you people on Twitter.
That's for damn sure. All right, here's Gronk and the exchange about Brady.
Gronk, this is the first time since 2009 that the divisional round has not had Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, and everybody's wondering about their future. You know Tom better than anybody else. What do you think's in store for him next year?
Yes, man, oh man. Everyone wants to know about Tom Brady's future. I don't even think Tom knows what his future holds right now. But let me tell you this. He was top 5 in passing yards last season. He can still play the game. And he's probably getting some treatment on his arm as we speak right now. So he's going to be ready to go next year. But let me tell you, it's going to be whatever situation intrigues him the most, whatever opportunity that makes him the most excited to play the game of football. That's where he will be next year.
Does that
keep going? Is there anything else on there?
Mean back playing football?
Yes, back playing football. And for some reason, he's not going to be. He always has an opportunity, a job with us next year, baby.
Job with us. Mm-hmm. Now he's us. All right. So he's definitively going to play. And when he said arm, he touched his shoulder. Did we not say that this year, that there's something going on with Brady's shoulder? That's why he took a lot of time off. And that was, to me, evident from very beginning of the seasons. That was another thing. And, of course, he's never going to talk about that. And I think that was part of his accuracy issues. So, again, and by the way, so does this mean I think he won't be back to the Bucs? No, I still think there's a chance. And did you hear what Gronk said there? The situation that excites him the most. Okay? So will Tampa Bay excite him the most?
Does it look exciting at the moment?
No.
And let's just
no,
I think this is real in football and in life. New is always exciting.
Exactly. That's a synonym, right? New and you ever hear old and exciting?
Not really. No.
In the same sense. It's old and exciting. No, it's not old and exciting. It's new and exciting. Absolutely. It's a great point. So what is new? What is new? What is new? What is new?
A little further south.
I think this is the wild card, though, and our friend Sal Pal mentioned it. The Jets. New York, exciting. I think he believes in the head coach. I don't know who's their OC.
Probably Nathaniel Hackett.
Well, they're open, right?
They're open, but they look like they're fixed.
Okay.
They're on.
Okay,
Nathaniel
so they're
Hackett.
open. So if Tom were to go there, he can handpick his OC.
Well, they're going through interviews right now, though. They don't have time to wait. Maybe we can get Tom Brady and we'll get an OC. I don't think that's a plan at all. I think the Hackett thing is directly to get Aaron Rodgers.
That's true too. I think the Jets are going to get Aaron Rodgers, and if I were the Jets, I would take Aaron Rodgers over Tom Brady right now because Aaron Rodgers can move. And even though I like Brady's leadership skills a hell of a lot more than I like Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is physically a better quarterback, can move. And that's a big deal in the NFL, folks. Moving is a huge deal in the NFL. You've got to be able to move. And I think if the Jets look at that, and plus you could probably say that Rodgers is going to give you maybe 2 years, where I think Brady's only going to give you 1. So I think, but if does Rodgers want to play in New York? I would say that's a big hefty no. But he may not have it. He doesn't have a no trade in his contract, does he? Does he have to approve a trade?
Rodgers, I would almost be certain that he has to definitely approve a trade.
Yeah, I would think so. He wouldn't have signed it without.
He wouldn't have spoken out against the GM if he wasn't getting everything he wanted.
Yeah, that's true. He wouldn't sign a contract that would give him the ability to ship him to the.
Let me put this comment here from Bucs Space real quick because I think it's to the conversation. New offensive coordinator and new offensive staff is new for Brady, especially if he can pick it out. He can do that here. That's true.
True. Absolutely.
That is true.
That's true. But it's the same old situation. And again, I'm not saying that the Bucs, he's not coming back here. That's not what I'm saying. My feeling is that he's moving on. I'm not saying he can't come back here or won't come back here. I think he's honestly going to look at all of his options, and will the Bucs be able to make it attractive enough for him to come back with a new offensive coordinator? I don't, here's a weird thing, but if Tom Brady wanted to come back, do you think he wants to come back to the same offensive line coach and run game coordinator that were kept? That's weird to me. Why were they the only people that were kept on this staff?
But what's the run game coordinator honestly going? Like Harold Goodwin spoke throughout the season, and he was more candid and dropping those little nuggets in there. Like, listen, we can have all the plays we want to run, but I don't call the plays.
Right.
The OC's got to call them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's him kind of throwing Byron under the bus, but I think it's true. So, like, I don't know. How it's odd with coaches. Like, before going
Chris
to the
Cole
season.
Says creamsicles new.
Creamsicles new, sure. It's exciting to me, not to you. But no, with coaches,
Brady, by the way.
With coaches though, like Harold Goodwin going to this year, we were talking about, Harold Goodwin could be a head coach in the league, and now we're sitting here saying, oh my gosh, they didn't fire the run game coordinator Harold Goodwin because we didn't run the football. We were awful at it. Like, I don't know how much he really has to do with that.
No, that's true. I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, he was. I want to say he's pretty good the couple of years before. We've never had a great running game, but it was good enough to win a Super Bowl.
The offense is not really run like that, though.
So the whole offense was.
I think in general for Brady, there's a lot of options that he could pick from, but I still think the option that includes him coming back and the Bucs restructuring a lot of contracts and making some cuts for some guys who are making a little bit too much money for what they'd probably enjoy. I think that's still the most desirable option because I tend to agree with whoever had said it, Marcus Spears. There is no perfect option that he's walking into.
Right.
And because I will never buy the whole Las Vegas thing because I think that's dysfunction waiting to happen.
Anything out west, and
San Francisco, because of yesterday, to me, just continues to prove there's no need for it.
Folks, did you watch the game yesterday? And we're going to get into all the games. Did you watch Brock Purdy? Did you watch the play calling? Do you watch what they have the quarterback doing? He's running all over the damn field. Literally, Kyle Shanahan's going to have to redline 75% of his playbook. And he ain't doing that for Tom Brady. And maybe that's why Tom Brady didn't go there in the first place. Everybody thought, the 49ers really want Tom Brady. Do they? If they wanted him, they could have had him. Why didn't they take him? Because you can't run that offense with Tom Brady. You can't. Now, could you switch your offense and with all the talent that they have and make it work? Yeah, I think you could. But, Kyle Shanahan's got an ego too, by the way. And it's pretty damn big. And maybe it should be the way his offense runs. But I don't think Tom, you literally, coming from a divorced man who has your kids every other weekend, and I don't know in football season, that's going to be tough anyway, but he still wants his kids there. to come to the games, to be around him, to fly in on Friday night to Davis Island or Thursday night or whatever, and he can shuttle them back and forth. Hell, he can go, if his kid's got a recital in Miami, he could be there after practice to be there and then be home that night. He ain't doing that in San Francisco. He ain't doing that in Vegas. He ain't doing that anywhere else.
The only
west of the Mississippi.
The only thing I can think that would make San Francisco really go after it is, let's just say they lose this week to Philadelphia, or they get to the Super Bowl again and they lose. And that would be okay. We got there with Jimmy Garoppolo. We got there with Brock Purdy. We're good enough to get there. But when we really need that quarterback, and this all remains to be seen if Brock Purdy can do it or not. This is just me putting a theory out there. What if they just go, you know what? We've had the best roster in the NFL for 5 years. Yeah, and at some point, what if they just be like, you know what? F it. Let's go get the guy who we know can win Super Bowls. But we have everything. If there's a perfect situation out there, it's right here anyway. I can make it work. He can make it work. F it. That's the only thing to me that could make San Francisco even entertain it at this point.
I don't think, first of all, I'll go back to my original point. If they wanted him 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they could have had him. They didn't get him. Maybe he didn't want to go out there for his kids.
They were coming off a Super Bowl appearance with Jimmy Garoppolo. There was no need.
I
don't think there was a need.
Sticking with that?
I'm just saying,
mofo.
I just think that if you go 3 years now that you've been right there at the cusp.
But you got to change your whole offense of what you're running.
Okay, well, Kyle Shanahan is such a mastermind. He'll figure it out. Well, Kyle, hold up.
Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing you're forgetting. Who's coming back next year for them?
San Francisco?
Yeah. Trey Lance.
Be fine.
Trey Lance is coming back.
Oh.
And listen, you may not believe it. I may not believe it. You know who believes in him? Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. And they gave up the world to get
that confidence should be waning right now.
Well, we haven't really seen the guy play.
Hold on. My point, though, what you said, Kyle Shanahan, he can't do this offense. Well, explain Matt Ryan then. Matt Ryan won an MVP, went to a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan as his offensive coordinator.
Well,
Kirk Cousins' first few seasons in Washington, he
well, I will tell you this.
He can make it work with anybody.
Matt Ryan he's no Russell Wilson. He's no Jalen Hurts.
If you're going to tell me that he can move.
Dude, I covered the team. He bootlegged.
He was not moving much.
He bootlegged. He did the RPOs. He wasn't running with the football, but he did some things that Brady can't do. And that was 6 years ago.
Good offensive coordinators, good coaches make it happen.
I agree, but I just don't think, first of all, I don't think Brady wants to go there. So I just take that off the map. But I think the Jets are intriguing if they can't get Aaron Rodgers. I think the Saints are intriguing if Sean Payton goes back to New Orleans. I think obviously Tampa Bay is intriguing. You can pick your offensive coordinator. We got all your guys back. You get to live here, the same situation. I think Tampa Bay is going to look better and better and better to him as he goes through his evaluations. I really do, because when you talk about Miami, it's still a lot of unknowns, and their offensive line is not elite in any way. The defense is not as good as I thought it was. I went back and looked at it, and their numbers are not that great, to be honest with you. I think it may be a better personal situation, but that's all stuff that we don't really know. But I think, in the Saints, there's a lot of newness out there, okay, that he's going to have to deal with. So I think that I still think the Bucs are in it, and I think the more he looks at it, the better the Bucs are going to look. But clearly, by what Gronk said, something exciting that kind of makes me feel like, first of all, it's new, and second of all, it's not.
And I'm reading through some of the comments here just as you've been talking, and a lot of people talking about the Dolphins and the whole Tua thing. Like, listen, I know what the Dolphins have said. I know what Chris Gear said. I can't make it any more clear. Here's our starter. I've heard all that. I just tend to I have my guard up on anything the Dolphins say about Tua.
Yeah,
I just tend to, because sometimes I just don't know if they actually, even though I believe in Tua and they win. I mean, the facts are there. They win with him, and they don't really win much without him. That is a fact. Even though that's there, something tells me the Dolphins still have higher ambitions and always will.
Look, if they bring back Tua, right, that means that they're going to have to pick up his fifth-year option.
Or sign him to a contract, which Chris Gear said that is on the table as well.
Okay. All right. So any organization that gives him a long-term deal with a high amount of guaranteed money is absolutely moronic. That's the stupidest thing you could possibly do. The most unknown injury in football is the concussion. And if anybody thinks that guy's not prone to concussions, you're crazy. That guy is, and I feel horrible to say it, and that this is not being mean or demeaning in any way. It just is what it is. The last concussion he got, it was, I understand he was slammed backwards on his head, but it wasn't like it was a horrific, that play could happen 5 or 6 times a game, right? And if that's going to happen and you lose your quarterback, how can you build a team around that? Seriously. And there could be many reasons that we're saying that as well. Number one, litigation, tampering, all that stuff. All right. If they come out and they say, no, we're actively looking, then everybody knows it's Brady, and Brady is still technically under contract to Tampa Bay. So they certainly don't want to open that can of worms again. Right. So think about that, folks. Everything Miami is saying, a lot of it has to do with, the fact that they got a draft pick taken away from them for tampering with Brady. So what are they going to come out and say that they're looking at Brady now? Come on. That's silly. And the idea that you're going to build around Tua is silly. Don't believe what these people say. It means nothing. Look at what they do. If they thought he was such a great quarterback, why isn't he already signed? Why haven't they already picked up his option? If they were so in on Tua, look at what they do. Don't look at what they say. Totally different.
Because, look at the quarterbacks around the league right now that are usually smaller in stature and/or are running quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson is still looking for that contract.
Yeah, and still
Kyler Murray had to fight to get that contract.
He did it. He did it with complete blackmail.
Yeah, and Tua's fighting for that contract now, and a lot of it's been taken out of his hands because of the injuries, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
My point is it's going to be always – I think organizations are always going to pause when it comes to the smaller in stature / running quarterbacks.
Yes, absolutely.
I think even though they're more willing to take a chance on it. But here's the thing that's important, though. And again, based on what I saw yesterday, there's no path for the Tom Brady Dolphins to get to the Super Bowl. I'll say that confidently.
Yeah.
You could have the perfect situation in the AFC. There is no path. There's no path for him. You want to know why? Because there's not even a path for Josh Allen. There's not a path for him. There's not a path for Herbert.
That's a great point.
There's not a path for Trevor Lawrence. All these other quarterbacks who right now are better than Tom Brady, there's no path for them.
Because you got Mahomes and Andy Reid for eternity and a great organization in Kansas City. They aren't going away. They're going to be in the last 4 forever. Okay.
In Cincinnati.
Since Joe Burrow, I'm here to tell you, is the next Tom Brady. Joe Burrow is going to dominate this sport unless he gets hurt for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's that good.
Yeah. And here's another. He's
the best thrower of the football that I've seen since Dan Marino. And the dude is, from a mental standpoint, he is rock solid. And he's winning the Super Bowl this year.
Regardless, that's going to be your AFC championship for the next whatever years.
Yeah, and that's the other thing when he looks around. He's going to look, wow.
Yeah.
If I come back to Tampa Bay with what they have, what we have, and if we don't sustain injuries and I get to pick my OC, we're winning the division, for God's sakes. We're winning. We won the division this year with all the.
And I think that's really all that matters to him.
Behind our back,
and that's all
eye patch on. Both of our legs with stubs for our pirate stubs.
And even if they won the division next year and went let's say it was another rocky season, they went 9-8, but they won the division and got in. This guy's wired. It doesn't matter what record he has. Right. If he gets in there, he believes he can win a Super Bowl. That's really all that matters.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point. And also this one from Michael Hall. This is a good point too. Miami's running a variation of San Fran's offense. So everything that makes San Francisco a wrong fit probably applies to Miami because that's Mike McDaniel.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And you see Tua doing all the rollouts and they're moving him around. You can't do that with Brady, folks. He can't throw off. I mean, you saw the one bootleg. I mean, it was a horrible design play.
Well, but then my question,
it takes him 10 minutes to set his feet, and by the time he sets his feet to throw back,
here's my question though. What offensive coordinator?
Sorry, Cam. I know that's terrible to say. I love you, man. You great.
Listen, we'll remember your connection with Jameis Winston.
That's right.
It'll be great. But
you're slow now. You know that.
Which offensive coordinator / scheme are you bringing in necessarily? Because the one we already know that the one you just were working with for 3 years with Bruce Arians, when you had the pieces in play, that scheme catered to Tom Brady's strengths. When you had the players and you had the offensive line to go with it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But we're already talking here, okay, well, it's an archaic system. We need something new and fresh. Well, new and fresh is what we just saw yesterday,
right? And
what we're seeing Jalen Hurts do, and what we're seeing Mahomes do, and what we're seeing Burrow do, and Brock Purdy to an extent.
Yep.
He can't do those things. So I guess my question here is, even though you might bring in a new offensive coordinator, you might bring in a new scheme, how much new age are we getting here? At the end
Not
of the day,
much.
it's going to be Tom Brady out of the shotgun for most of it, with a running back next to him.
Mm-hmm.
And and obviously the route concepts are going to be different. I'm not disputing any of that. I'm just saying the idea of Tom Brady just being in the pocket and being a quote unquote statue and everything, that's going to remain the same.
Right.
It's going to be all up to route concepts and scheming guys open, rather than trying to see if Mike Evans can get open and Chris Godwin can get open, which is something that's not a strength.
And we always talk about scheming guys open. Okay. When we talk about scheming guys open, look at the plays that are scheming guys open. Motion, bootleg, reverse action, a lot of different cross blocking in terms of the offensive line, all things that the Bucs don't do. And again, it's tough to scheme guys open when your quarterback is stopping in the same spot, the same time, every single time. Again, there's only so many things you can do. RPOs, pulling the linebackers up with the RPO. That's something that Brady just doesn't do very well. And they haven't really tried to do it much because he's so slow doing the fake, getting the ball up and getting it out. It's not what he does. And it's just so hard to say that in a lot of different ways, the NFL game has passed Tom Brady by. What you saw last week, I think to some degree, Joe Burrow's not doing a lot of running around.
It's hard to say that.
He can make plays with his feet.
It's really hard to say that because, again, a year ago, the guy should have won an MVP.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't happen.
That's true.
But, again, there's just so many different factors. I just think that, and this has gone into the scheme and some of the play calling, is that they had so much talent that was able to overcome the scheme and was able to,
Well, this is also a huge part of it right here. What Joe F says. Imagine if we gave Brady a running game, though. That will help to get guys open. Absolutely 100% true. 100% true. And this is something that you can have with Brady as a drop back quarterback. You've got to have an effective running game.
We've established that now. It's got to happen.
It's got to happen. And why didn't it happen this year? That's more about the dysfunction with Byron Leftwich and Todd Bowles. And I think to some degree, I think their running scheme is very boring and old, and you can do different things in blocking formations.
Yeah, those things can change with a new scheme and a new coordinator.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the number one things I'm working on is somehow how do we and of course, you could say what you want about Clyde Christensen and some of the other people that were fired. To me, the running game is stale. Those would be the first people I'd fire: the run game coordinator and the offensive line coach. You guys were terrible, and the running game has been bad for a while. And you can say, well, Byron's got to call it, and that's true too.
The line,
and I get that.
The line, it's more so. The line was just so good the first 2 years that if you needed to run the ball, you could do power.
Right.
But you tried to do power this year over and over and over.
Couldn't do
so
it.
either you just didn't care to run the ball, and you were just like, oh, we're just going to fill our quota. Like, check that down. We ran up the middle to make Todd happy. Right. Or you just don't have anything else in your playbook, which I don't think is necessarily true because we saw it at spurts where they would kind of go a little outside and they would get some interesting things. They just didn't go back to it enough.
And I think what Dan Orlovsky said the other day about the run game just not being connected to the pass game is absolutely 100% true. And they have to work off each other. Linebackers, you got to put linebackers and safeties and corners, in even the entire defense. The entire defense has to be guessing what you're doing next, right? Are you running or are you throwing? And too often it felt like everybody knew exactly what the Bucs were going to do on every single play. Safeties are coming up and everything was so compact. That's another thing you see this weekend formationally. Formationally, everybody goes wide. They spread the field. You go look at most of the Bucs formations. Everything is tight. They do the bunch formations tight, especially in the red zone, and it's just ridiculous. There's no space out there so often. So yeah, whole new offensive coordinator, whole new offensive system is going to be, I think, will benefit Tom Brady. But here's the other thing: does he want to learn a whole new system?
Well, here's something right here. I'll put this one up from Randy Cobb. Let's be real. How much longer is Brady going to play? What team is going to want him for 1 year, other than the Bucs or the Patriots? You can't build your team around a one and done quarterback. It's interesting that as we're having this discussion,
I think the Rams did it. I think the Bucs kind of did it. They didn't think Brady would be here for a while.
I think the Rams knew Stafford would be there a little longer.
Yeah.
But they were trying to maximize the roster. But
my
point with this, my point actually with this, with what he said here about the Patriots, when people have said, "What about Tom Brady going back to New England?" I've completely just been like, "No way,
that's not happening."
But I tell you what, though, somewhere that he knows, that he's comfortable at, and they're the favorites to get Bill O'Brien. And we've been talking about it'd be such a strength to get Bill O'Brien here. Well, what if the Patriots get Bill O'Brien? And look at what they have. They have the running game. They probably could work the O-line a little bit, but usually they have a good O-line. Their defense is really, really good. And they've still found the way to make their way into the playoffs with Mac Jones one year. And then this year they got to the final game. So how many more wins does Brady add on for Mac Jones? I'm just saying, like, if I'm looking for another scenario, it's actually not as wild as I think when you kind of talk through it.
Do you think he and Belichick?
That would take a lot of work to get him and Belichick to go back and work together.
A lot of work.
But Belichick has to understand, too, this is my last hurrah as well. And my record ain't looking too great without Tom Brady. And how do I want to be remembered?
So you think there's somehow Robert Kraft could get the kumbaya peace pipe going?
Robert Kraft could definitely get all three parties, those three guys in the same room, 100%. 100%. I'm just saying the more I talk it out loud, the more it doesn't seem as crazy. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'd put it at like probably 5% at most. I'm just saying it kind of makes a lot of sense there. If you're looking for comfortability and even a team that may be able to kind of make some, but again, I still think though the point stands. The AFC is just a tough draw right now. But I don't know. It's something to chew on.
Yeah. I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening. But I will, as we wrap up this discussion, I still think when Tom looks at everything, and I do think he hasn't made up his mind yet, but I think he's probably leaning towards going to something new and exciting. I think when he adds everything up, he's going to say, "Man, Tampa Bay looks pretty damn good."
Yeah, and let's see where the whole Sean Payton thing is still. We have to know where that's going.
That's the first.
I mean, it sounds like he's interviewing formally with Denver this week. Denver seems the one that's heavily courting him. And, there's a lot of bad press going on in Denver because of Russell Wilson. And they got a new owner who I'm sure wants to make a splash. So if he goes to Denver, I mean, that kind of changes things as well.
If who? Sean Payton?
Yeah, because I think that takes like everybody that kept saying New Orleans, if he goes there, okay, well, there's no need to go to New Orleans then.
Right.
And then there's no need to go to Carolina then either.
Right.
So it kind of takes your options off the board because he's not going to Denver.
Right. And then Miami becomes Mike McDaniel, and would he go there and run that offense, that San Francisco offense? That's stuff. But, to me, ownership trumps all that. Stephen Ross wants Brady so bad that he'll tamper with him and have to do whatever. So he wants that so badly. And he'll demand, figure it out. You guys figure it out. I don't care what offense you're running. I'm getting Tom Brady. You guys figure it out. And seriously, that's the way that will go down. So much to be learned. But I would say the long shot is the Jets.
So your long shot's the Jets. My long shot is going back to New England.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see.
But what's your most probable, though? What's your most probable?
I just want to – and see, there's things we don't know. There's a lot of things we don't know, like who's going to be the OC here, who's going to be the OC. And they're not going to change OCs in Miami because Mike McDaniel's basically the OC. Is Sean coming back to New Orleans? I know he does like the Broncos. I know that was great. I heard what Coward said about that. So when you add it all up, to me, it's the Bucs is the best situation for him. It really is. And, and the Bucs will do anything to get him back.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. There's no faction within the Buccaneers organization except maybe, Bruce Arians, and I don't know where he's at in terms of
and to the report from Rappaport as well, like it can be true that Tom Brady is closer to some teammates than other.
Yeah.
So obviously we're never going to know which ones that Rappaport spoke to.
Right.
But I'd be curious to know. I'd be curious to know which ones it is because I'm assuming he's closer to guys like Mike Evans, closer to someone like Ryan Jensen. Obviously, he has a relationship with Leonard Fournette, vouching for him to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows who else on that team that he has really close relationships with. But let's just say Ian Rappaport, for lack of a better name, let me just throw out, like, I don't know, Scotty Miller or Brashad. Let's just say it's one of those guys, like a lower level guy. How much do they really have a feeling of that,
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, depending on who you spoke to, you might get a different answer.
Right. No, absolutely. I think that's true as well. And the people I spoke to know Brady pretty well. So I think that, but again, they qualified with it is they felt like it was more like, in case I don't come back, here's a goodbye. So I think those things could be understood the same way, right? To some people, it means he's saying goodbye. To other people, it says, it's like, yeah, goodbye for now. Just in case I don't get back here, thanks for everything. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I do think Brady has not decided. But I think he's probably talking about some other places. But when you start really looking at it, it's limited. The options are limited. I really believe that. And I think a lot of people, the national types, think there's out West options. And I may be wrong. Maybe he doesn't, maybe that's not such a big deal about his kids. But from everything I've heard him say over the years and watching, all of his 30 for 30s and documentaries and everything, that's really, really important to him. And I believe he's super sincere when he says it. He's a family guy, and he's very appreciative to what his dad and mom did for him. He wants to give the same experience as much as he can to his kids. I know, coming from my standpoint, it's the same thing. I never wanted to leave my kids for that same reason. I think it's a strong pull. And when he adds everything up, I think the Bucs are still an option, unless there's something out there that is just. And again, the New York thing is, he won't be. It's close to his kids in Miami. He's not coming home for recitals in Miami, but his other son is up there in New York, and maybe he wants to give him a little bit more time. But those are the things we don't know. Those are the things we don't know.
I just don't know. Do you want to go to where both the X's are?
Where?
It's interesting. If you go to Miami, you're going to where one X is.
Yeah.
And you go to New York, you're going to where the other one is. I thought usually the idea is to get away, is it not?
Unfortunately, they're attached to your kids. So
that's true.
You can divorce the wife, but you can't divorce the mom.
I don't know what I'm even saying. You're divorced and you're still in the same area.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't, because you want to be next to, being with your kids trumps the other part of it. So, yeah, absolutely. A couple I want to get to, because we got some new names jumping in here. I want to say thank you to Michael Hall and all the new, and our old standards. We love you too. We're just trying to say hello to the new one. Rick Stroud did release a big list of players that aren't coming back, so I hope Rap Sheet didn't talk to them. Well, and those are all, not that the reporting is bad, or it obviously is, but none of those are a surprise. Julio Jones, Scotty Miller,
a lot of dead weight.
Gio, a lot of older guys on contracts. This team needs to get younger.
A lot of guys that Jason Light kind of whiffed on, if we're going to be completely honest.
Yeah. Anyone heard from Ali Marpet? No, yeah, he's 220.
Yeah, I think he's done. He's done.
He's about 220 pounds right now. He's never coming back to play football. No, he's not coming back.
Someone up here, though, said, where was the comment? I like the creativity of the comment. Let me get to it. Because it was along the same, there it is. He said, you want to date the hot chick, be friends with her best friend, translation, get Gronk back.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. The wingman. Yeah, absolutely. And does Gronk want to come back? Yeah, I think he could play. I think he's bored, right? I think he wants to come back to play. Because here's the thing. They did it all before. They put the band back together and they won a Super Bowl, right? It wasn't that long ago. And all these guys think they can do it again, given the right situation.
When you're older, though, not long ago, we're talking 3 years now. When you're older, though, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time, the further you get away from it.
But you think that he really thinks that he can't play anymore?
I know. I think Gronk can still play. It's just, I can't imagine it's easy to continue to start, stop your career like that, especially when he's already done it 2 times.
Yeah. What is this one from Bucs Basement? Chua's Instagram message made it clear he's going to play next season. He used the dolphin emoji, so it seems clear he's the starter. Well, of course, Tua thinks he's the starter. Well, yeah, duh. He thinks he's the starter. What do you think they're telling him? Of course he's the starter. It's not up to Tua. That's the thing. It's not up to Tua. It's up to the organization. God bless him. But, I just don't see him being a long-term answer. Anybody who
I'll respond to this one too from T Corral. My biggest fear is Brady leaves and Bowles hires from within for an OC like Goody or Thad Lewis. Got to get a big splash. That's what I've been kind of saying. If Brady leaves or retires, the expectations have got to be tempered, because this is going to be as transition year as you can get, and you will likely get Thad Lewis as your offensive coordinator.
All right, so let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to deal with that ugly scenario. What happens if Brady does not come back? What should the Bucs do, and what's it going to look like? If you're squeamish and you're a Bucs fan, you may want to tune out for this situation. But there's a it could be a rainbow at the end of the storm. So we'll talk about that. We're brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center and the Jeeves Law Group in our first hour. And we'd like to welcome in our new sponsor, the Valspar Championship, coming up in March. We chatted with them on Friday. Looking forward to working with them as we move closer to the tournament. Jordan Spieth has committed. Of course, Sam Burns will be the defending champion, and lots of new things going on out there in terms of the social scene. So we'll get you up to date on that. Back in 3. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. He loves his Gators. In fact, he sponsors our Gator Report every Thursday at 11 o'clock with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell them JP sent you.
Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Hey, folks, it's still engagement season, and where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source? The Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country, a literal jewelry supercenter with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. You don't have to wait to spend any extra time waiting for them to bring something in. They have everything right there in-house, so why go anywhere else? And you can get up to 15% off this January if you buy something with the birthstone, which is garnet. Garnet and Gold, Florida State, get something for your favorite Seminole. And let's not forget the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Very affordable, real gold and diamond jewelry, always stylish and unique. Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching, modern geometrical shapes. Really unique stuff. Got to check it out. And, of course, Julie and Steve Weintraub, great benefactors here in the local community. So let's keep it local. And you can get 0% financing for up to 5 years. Get a big ring for a little price. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Coming back at you.
Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center. By the way, Chris Lugo will join us at 11:45. We're going to talk about the Patrick Mahomes injury, which is got to be very concerning for Kansas City. He said he woke up better on Sunday, but it is a high ankle sprain. I don't see how he comes back and plays with any I just can't see him. A high ankle sprain on your right leg, your push off leg.
I ain't doubting that dude.
Yeah. He didn't look so great in the Super Bowl when he lost his offensive line, so he's not a superhero. You just can't play with your plant foot. You can't push off. Unless it's some type of modern miracle, I don't see how he's going to be very effective.
It's the wrong opponent to have an injury, though.
Exactly. It depends. I got news for you. Joe Burrow is going to put up points, and you're not beating Cincinnati in this situation, and you're not beating them in the Super Bowl. I think Joe Burrow is going to win the Super Bowl. I'm betting on Cincinnati. So anyway, we'll talk to Chris Lugo about Mahomes' injury and Jalen Hurts' injury and any other. If you guys have any questions for him in terms of testosterone replacement therapy or weight loss, nutrition, immune system, any of that stuff, you can put them in the comment section. We'll ask him when he gets on at 11:45, but he will address those injuries as well. And Rich Hollenberg is going to join us at 11:15. We're going to talk some Braves baseball, their off-season stuff. There's been some news, well, not news, but a lot of back and forth about the proposals for the Rays Stadium, so we'll get into that as well. But as promised, we wanted to talk about the rebuild without Brady. From Rick Stroud's piece in the Times, the Bucs are $54.45 million over the projected salary cap for 2023, second worst base of any team in the league. They've also pushed a lot of the money spent on free agents during the Brady days to the future. So yeah, it's going to look ugly. This is going to, as he pointed out, back in 2009 when they hired Raheem Morris and fired Gruden, one of the big reasons Gruden left is because the Glazers told him, we're not signing any free agents over the next few years. You got to build it through the draft. And he's like, F that, I'm out. And so they brought in Raheem Morris because he was the cheapest option. And everything they did was on the cheap for the next 3 years because they were using all of their cash to buy Manchester United in a heavily leveraged play. And they were uncapped seasons. We've talked about this for years and years and years. This is not new news, but they were uncapped seasons. And they spent 1 year, I think they were in the 60s in terms of their cap, $60 million. And it's like 68 million while everybody else was spending like 200. So yeah, it was brutal. But that was a choice that they made. This time they have the money, but they don't have the money in terms of salary cap. So it's a rebuild, and it is the worst kind of rebuild. And the only thing you really can do is jettison as many assets that you can that aren't going to help you 2 years down the road. And that has to be what you're looking at, because this upcoming season is going to be a disaster. That next season should be a building year towards something like maybe the Eagles had last year. And I think the Eagles is a very good template to look at. Okay, they won the Super Bowl, but they end up firing their Super Bowl coach and getting rid of Carson Wentz, who they had targeted as their franchise quarterback, and started rebuilding their team through the draft and keeping the good players that they wanted around. Now, who would those be? Tristan Wirfs would be one of those players you would not want to get rid of. I think Rachaad White is one of those people you don't want to get rid of. I think Chris Godwin still in 2 years is going to be a very good player. So you have to look, anybody in 2 years who's not going to be on the downside, you got to get rid of them, especially if they still have value. Who does that mean?
I know the name that you already floated to me, and that's a tough one. This
is what you got to do, and that's Mike Evans. Nobody wants to see him leave, but he's not going to win anything with this team next year. When you got to jettison Donovan Smith, you got to jettison Fournette, Cam Brate, Suck Up. Anybody who's not going to be worth anything in 2 years is gone. That means you don't give another contract to Devin White.
Well,
Devin White's a little bit of a different situation.
It's a tricky one.
That's a tricky situation.
It's a tricky one because, I don't know if Devin White, I'm being honest, I don't think he's a $100 million player.
I don't either.
Truthfully, I don't think he's close to it.
No.
But based on reputation alone, based on how I think the Bucs feel about him, they're going to end up having to pay at least close to that. They're going to. And plus, because Levante David's a free agent, the reality is if you'd say, no, we're not giving Devin White a free agent or another contract, well, guess what? Who's playing linebacker? J.J. Russell and K.J. Britt?
Listen, I've watched enough of Devin White to know that he is not he's not Levante David.
Oh, no.
He's not Levante David. He's not an inside linebacker that you're going to build around. He can't get off blocks. He can't. I've seen it for 4 years. He can't do it. He can't get off blocks. He is still 4 years in. He's still making basic coverage mistakes, taking the bait on, plays where they set you up. If he was a transformative type linebacker, I would say, yes, sign him up. He's not that guy. He's a splash play guy that's going to make some splash plays every now and then.
They might not do it though, because
but the final point, inside linebacker is not a place where I want to spend that kind of money.
Premium. I was going to say, Chicago made that decision on. I feel like he gets compared a lot to Roquan Smith because I think they came out right around the same time.
Yeah,
I think Roquan was a year earlier, both top 10 picks. I think Roquan's a much better player than Devin White. But even Chicago, which has historically been all about defense, decided, we don't want to pay an inside linebacker $20 million in 2023.
Yeah, it's not a premium position. So I would think, and you might be able to get something for Devin White.
Off reputation alone. If anybody's turning on tape, I mean, what a 5th round pick maybe? I don't know.
I mean, I'm not going to pay him. I'm not picking up, I'm not going picking up the 5th-year option, which have they picked that up? They may have.
I think they did.
Double check.
I think they did.
We need to double check.
Let's just say the two big ones though, because they're the next ones that are in line to get paid big, are Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield Jr.
Absolutely.
Those two, if we're talking about cornerstones for the franchise, I think those two are probably 1 and 2.
Yeah, and I'm letting SMB walk. Jamel Dean, I
want him back.
I would try to re-sign him, but I think he's going to get some bigger offers. But
how does he feel about the benching at the final game of the season?
Probably not good.
We know how Jordan Whitehead felt when he split.
Yeah. So I think other than that, I mean, who are you really keeping? Vita Vea is
going to be here.
Oh yeah, Vita Vea. Yeah, absolutely. No. But everything else is rebuild time.
I think. I mean, offensive linemen tend to they can produce when they get older. So I think Ryan Jensen, even though he's 31. Coming off
he's
the
under
injury.
Contract for 2 more
He's under
years,
contract anyway. I think he'll be fine. Shaq Mason's the same way. So I think.
But I'll say this: if somebody wants to give me a 2nd-round pick for Ryan Jensen, if somebody's desperate to get an experienced center, I'm in. I'm listening.
Well, you were just just using Philly as a template. Jason Kelsey has been there through all that time, and look how important he is. He stayed through it.
It wasn't Jason. If I go back to how old is he now?
Jason Kelsey, I think, is like 34, 35-ish.
Okay.
Right now. Okay. I don't know. It's hard to replace a really good center.
Right.
Now, Hainsey was drafted to be, I think, the heir, but now he
played pretty well.
And he played pretty well, but I think in an ideal situation, you probably want him at left guard, so you could have 4/5 of that offensive line. But remember, settled.
Your rebuild is about money too.
Yeah.
You gotta, so if you trade Jensen, you don't have to pay his money. That opens up a lot of cap space to eat more cap. So you don't have to eat it going into the next year. You know what I'm saying? Then you can start getting more free agents. So to me, you jettison if it doesn't help you in 2, 3, 4 years down the line, it's not worth keeping.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to shed it all, take as much in the shorts as you can right now in terms of move everything up that you can eat in terms of salary cap, get everything out and just rebuild from the ground up. And look at what the Eagles did.
Shaq Barrett, you got to throw him in there, I guess, too.
He's gone.
$21 million against the cap next year.
No, gone. And I just got to go. I'm drafting edge rushers. I'm drafting corners. I'm drafting offensive line. I'm trying to get those key pieces. You got a right tackle and maybe a left tackle. If you feel like Tristan Wirfs can move to the left side, which I think he can. I think he's superhuman. And I think as soon as he does, he's probably the best left tackle in the game. So I think there's some pieces here, but this is going to be ugly. Now, and then, of course, the quarterback position. What do you do next year? Unless somebody falls to you in the draft, and I don't mean Anthony Richardson, then I'm passing and looking towards the next quarterback class, which looks a lot better. And you're going to suck next year. So you're going to have a top 5 pick. So we could be sitting here if Brady doesn't come back. Okay, we could be sitting here in 2024 with. Pick out your quarterback that you want in 2024. Is it Caleb? Is it?
You got to get in the. Well, you got to get in
the. On him.
You're iffy on Caleb Williams, really.
Just the attitude.
The attitude.
Really
you're bothered because he painted his nails in the big game. Let's be honest.
I am.
But if you're doing that though, him or Drake May, I mean, because those are the two names. You got to be 1 or 2.
I don't know enough about either one of them. I've seen them play, and both of them are spectacular.
Well, everything we hear, if they were in this class right now, they'd be the top 2.
I mean, I'd go Jordan Travis, but that's just me.
Oh my goodness. I'll pass.
Maybe we draft him in the 7th round next year.
I'll pass.
Hey, look at Purdy. Look at Tom Brady. No, so I think you pour everything into it, and you could be sitting here in 24 with a top 5 pick who could be your quarterback of the future. Okay, you've shed all the salary cap shenanigans that you got to do. You're done with all that. Now you hopefully and boy, is the 23 this draft class huge. I mean, I know you're picking 19th, but it is huge. You got to hit. You'll hopefully add a couple of draft picks, by selling off your wares. Do you get a 1 for Mike Evans?
Do you get a 1 for Mike Evans? What did Green Bay?
Because everybody now is in the.
What did Green Bay?
That number 1 receiver for our young quarterback. We got to go find our AJ Brown.
What did Green Bay get?
But I think he has some value.
What did Green Bay get for?
Mike, don't get mad at me. It's just business, the only reason I'm talking about it is because you have value. People want you. You're a tremendous player. You're a great player. But do you want to sit through this kind of? You want to get Kyle Trask next year? Probably not.
He's not. Well, I'm trying to look at comparables here. He is by no means in Devontae Adams' league, but Devontae Adams did get a 1st-round pick and a 2nd-round pick back. I don't think you're getting that from Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans a 2nd at best. I don't know if he's worth a 1st. Because I don't
I'll take it.
Because I don't think he's.
I'll take it.
Because
not that he's not worth it. Again, folks, it's just situationally. You got to pile up the draft picks, and then Jason Light. You got to go out and hit on those draft picks. You got to hit on 1st rounder. You got to hit on, if you get a couple of seconds, get those. You got to rebuild the defense. You got to get an edge rusher. Okay. You got to get, we're not looking quarterback this year. We're not drafting high enough. Edge rusher, offensive line, linebacker. You're going to need an inside linebacker, especially if you're getting rid of Devin White. But that's you can get those guys in the 2nd and 3rd round.
Not in this class.
I probably want to get another receiver. Obviously, if you're trading away Mike Evans, you need a receiver. And at 19, maybe you get a really good one. You got to have that number 1 guy. And I think Godwin's a number 1. But now, you got to need a 1 and a 2, right? A 1 and a 1A. So there's a lot of needs on this team. But I think you could be sitting here in 24 going, okay, we're ready to go now. We're ready to rebuild this.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though. If you start doing that, you've already made the call to clearly bring back Todd Bowles for this year.
Right. There'll be a new coach in 24 too.
I know, but I'm saying he ain't stupid.
Yeah.
You start doing all this stuff, he would have had these conversations. I guess I just don't know how that works because Jason Licht is not just going to start trading every player on this team for picks without discussing it with Todd Bowles. And then Todd Bowles is going to go, you're really you're throwing me a bone here with the 2nd year, but you're really writing my death sentence here by trading all these guys. I just don't know. Obviously we know no coaching staff wants to rebuild.
No,
none of the veterans on this team want to rebuild.
Well, Todd Bowles is more than willing and able to resign and go someplace else to work. I love Todd Bowles and I love a lot of these guys, but we're talking about this is business.
This is a good.
I'm not. So I'm going to delay my rebuild and try to half-ass rebuild because I don't want to hurt the chances of my coach or hurt his feelings. Or no, this is business, man.
It's tough business. It's tough business.
It's vicious, which is why you get paid so much money. Because you know what? If you don't want it, you know what you do? You take your check and you go home. You got to pay Bowles for 4 more years. You hurt my feelings. Send me away. Let me collect $5 million a year for the next 4 years and sit on my ass, please. I mean, people are like, "Oh, you fired Byron Leftwich," or you're saying that he's going to be fired. He's got a family and all of that. Yeah, so do I. So does everybody, but nobody's paying my freaking severance isn't $4 million. They get in. You get in this business. You know what the business is. You're going to be fired before you even know it. So if you're too thin-skinned to handle that, I'm not going to worry about it. I understand you got families and people got to move and everybody. I get all that, and it's tough. I get it. It's hard. You choose to be in this business. I'm not. That's not a reason I'm not reporting something or doing something. You just it is what it is. Yes, it stinks for these people, but whatever. Sorry, it's business, and the NFL is tough business.
Here's a good example from Bucs Basement. Who's had some good takes today. He said, "Look how much the Jets improved, who had 3 draft picks in the 1st round, and they were able to get Sauce Gardner, who is already like a top 3 corner in the league. Garrett Wilson, who might win the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Right.
And Jermaine Johnson, who we obviously love, who had his moments this year. So you got 3 cornerstones at 3 of the 5 biggest positions in the league with your 1st round pick. So They are valuable. There's no doubt about it. They are valuable. But at the end of the day,
you're talking about the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't. At the end of the day, though, you're going to go as far as your quarterback takes you 99% of the time in 2023. So you got to figure that out. To me, that's got to be priority. That's always got to be priority number one is how do we get one of these blue chip quarterbacks? Because Cincinnati did kind of the same thing. They jettisoned a lot of what made them an 11-12 playoff team under Marvin Lewis, but they never could get over the hump. They gutted that entire roster, but it got them Joe Burrow. And the next year with a roster that didn't look like it was ready to do anything, got to the Super Bowl. So it's really all about the quarterback and who you can get there. So I think that's got to be and I know that is priority number one, but I'm just saying it's got to be.
And how does the drastic rebuild work in terms of getting that next quarterback?
But you got to have the thing though about just trading everybody away though. It's like you still got to hit on the draft in those picks.
Yes, you do.
And you mentioned Philly.
That's the most critical.
That's the most critical thing. You mentioned Philly. Well, Philly hit on all those picks.
He did.
You mentioned we just talked about the Jets. Well, they hit on all those picks.
That's right.
Cincinnati hit on enough of them to make it work. The biggest being Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow.
It's
so
critical.
That's the most critical thing. I'm not saying now Jason Licht has had some great drafts. I'm not saying he's incapable of doing it, but it's definitely a risk because you want to have some talent on this team. You don't want to break this team together where you're looking at Tristan Wirfs, Antoine Winfield, Vita Vea, Chris Godwin, and then going around, all right, who else we got here? Like, it's not an ideal situation.
No, it's going to suck for a year. It's going to suck, but you have to do it because the other way, and Lenny, you said, I like JP. I'm glad he isn't the GM. You're creating holes in the roster. You have to fill those holes that you are creating. That's right. You have to fill them with better, young, cheaper players. You want to stick around with Nick Leverett, who I love, but nice guy, great story. But no, you want to keep Donovan Smith around and spend $13 million on Donovan Smith. You got to cut somewhere. You got to, and yes, you're going to create holes in the roster, but it gives opportunity for younger players to come up and play and see what they got. Because guess what? We're not the greatest at finding, putting personnel people out there or making the right choices for personnel. We saw that with Rachaad White. We saw that with Luke Gedeke. Now you may say to me, well, you confident Jason Licht can make the right picks? Yeah, he's done a pretty good job lately. I think, you're not going to hit on all of them. You're not going to hit them all. And I think some of the free agents that he brought in.
He whiffed the last 2 years, let's be honest, though.
In the draft?
In the draft, the last 2 years, he's largely whiffed. Right at this moment,
was a whiff.
Gedeke was a whiff. Logan Hall is a TBD at the moment. Joe Trad and Shawinka is starting to look like a whiff.
Yep.
K. Dotton / O'Keefe. K. Dotton is probably TBD right now.
Trask, I understood.
Trask right now just looks like an absolute waste.
Yeah,
for being honest,
hasn't had the opportunity.
Jalen Darden,
we just don't know. Jalen, Jesus.
So is there something I'm missing? Like there hasn't.
Well,
it's
Tristan
2 drafts in a row.
Antoine Winfield.
Chris
Godwin.
3 years ago.
I know it's a while back.
No, I know there's a reason why this roster was loaded going into 2020.
Right.
But I'm just saying that lately, the NFL's a what have you done for me lately business.
Yeah, Lenny, of course, I'm opening up. Yeah, you have to upgrade. Yeah, you open up these holes and then you draft. And let's be honest with you, got to draft guys in the 4th and 5th round that become good players. Those are so key. When you can get a 3rd rounder like Chris Godwin, that's huge. And you've got to go find those guys. You can find Pro Bowlers in the 3rd and 4th and 5th round. You can find them. You got to be great at evaluating talent and developing that talent. But you know what? You're not going to, if you don't have those draft picks and those extra draft picks that give you extra shots at getting these guys, then you got no chance. That's why I'm saying jettison these guys that aren't going to help you 2, 3, 4 years down the line. You got to be with this team. If you have to rebuild legitimately, you won't be able to compete for a championship for another 3, 4 years. So it's going to take time. But you want to be building in the right direction during that time. You want to be, as bad as the NFC South is, you could rebuild next year and maybe even win the damn thing if you really hit in the draft. And by some miracle, Kyle Trask turns out to be some halfway decent quarterback.
You just said it though. You just said it though. The 2nd and the 3rd round is where you find a lot of your diamond. Most of the majority of the NFL players are 2nd, 3rd round picks, right? Just look at the ones lately. Kyle Trask, Keyshawn Vaughn, Luke Gedeke.
Keyshawn Vaughn is, I think he's a decent football player. I don't know why he's not playing because every time he touches the ball, not every time, but he's shown me more than Leonard Fournette in terms of burst,
Deshaun Vaughn is a wasted pick at the moment. Okay?
We don't know.
Bottom line.
We don't know.
But anyway, I continue. Luke Gedeke, Kyle Trask.
That was a whiff.
Logan,
but even Gedeke, look,
I'm gonna consider Joe Tryon Shawinka since he was 32. It's basically a second round pick.
Yeah.
They probably reached for him anyway. It's not the greatest track record lately. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Gedeke, I still want to see in year 2. We'll give him the Rondé Barber first year whiff because he's a big kid. He's a fighter. He's I think he's got some toughness to him. I think there's something there, but it certainly wasn't there. He wasn't ready this year, so I don't want to say he's a whiff just yet. He's got some upside. But yeah, they've got to hit on these. Hey, you want to go get a new GM? Listen,
no, I'm not saying
Jason,
that at all.
Listen, Jason Light might be coveted by other teams. He's a Super Bowl general manager. There may be some teams.
The guys
out there.
around him are absolutely guys who are coveted by teams.
Right.
In fact, who knows? This might be Mike Greenberg's last hurrah with getting this cap figured out, and then he's like, "All right, peace, see ya."
Yeah. Yeah. Them keeping Bowles tells me, and Harold Godwin and some of the other coaches that they kept, what it tells me is they're cost cutting, and they're looking towards a rebuild. I think the moves that the Bucs have made, where a lot of people say, "Oh, that's to get Brady back." I think the opposite. I think if they were going to get Brady back, I think they would have cleaned house. To be quite honest, I don't see how Tom Brady can be happy with the way or be unhappy with the coaching staff in general, Byron Leftwich or whomever, and say things were loose and nobody was on the details, and still look at the head coach and say, especially the way he managed games, which was very much anti-Brady, and say, I want to stick around for this.
Again, but we just don't know what the relationship is like with Todd Bowles
and Tom Brady.
With Tom, I've been saying that all this time. It's so hard to judge that or to kind of figure out what that relationship is. You really don't know. He could love Todd Bowles for all we don't know.
Yeah, I think. Do you think Tom Brady feels like that Todd Bowles is the championship coach?
I mean, maybe he likes having a defensive head coach, and then he works exclusively with an OC. He did that. He did it that way for 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
Then he had an offensive head coach that clearly, as we've seen, there probably some friction there. And now with the OC, it seems like there was a difference in philosophies. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
Right.
We really have no idea. But who knows? Maybe he really loves Todd Bowles and wants him to be the head coach, and it's really all it comes down to. I think you're kind of seeing it's understanding in the entire building that the offensive staff was, at least they're saying that was the biggest problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when you have an offensive coordinator who's not listening to the head coach,
and
they're not working together, it's this. I called it after the Pittsburgh game. Dysfunction. The whole thing's dysfunctional, and it's not going to get any better. And that's what we saw all year long, dysfunction. All right, we'll take another break. We'll come back on the other side. Rich Hollenberg is going to join us at 11:15. But we want to get to the other playoff games. I want to talk about Mahomes' injury, which Chris Lugo from Bay Area Modern Medical Center will be joining us at 11:45 to go over that injury and the Jalen Hurts injury as well. And we'll talk to Rich about the Rays, but we're going to get into yesterday's NFL happenings next. So stay with us. Was your car totaled in an accident? Did your insurance company use Kelley Blue Book or NADA to appraise the value of your car? Chances are they didn't, and you got shorted maybe thousands of dollars. Call the Jeeves Law Group for a free case evaluation because your insurance company may still owe you money. 727-894-2929. It's a free call, so why not find out if you have a case? Insurance companies have been running this scam for a while, and most folks don't know if they've been shorted. Trust me. Scott Jeeves is a different kind of attorney, the kind insurance companies hate to go up against. He could recover thousands of dollars, so why not call 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell them JP sent you.
JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations.
Well, it's that time of year to renew or shop your health insurance provider, and you can get great health insurance for $20, $30, $50 a month. Just call 888-325-0605 to help navigate the health insurance marketplace. 1 out of 3 people in Florida are uncovered because they think they can't afford it. Not true. I made the call a couple of years ago, and they helped me get Blue Cross Blue Shield coverage, Florida Blue, for just $20 a month. Last year, it went up to $49. Oh, well. It all depends on your income and your family situation. It's a free call, 888-325-0605. They will ask for some income information. So if you have your tax returns available, that will be great, but you don't need it. They'll just answer some simple questions, and the highly trained reps will do the work for you to find out what your subsidy will be. 888-325-0605. And if you have a plan through your employer, you may be able to get it cheaper. It's a free call, so find out, folks. This has been a lifesaver for me and saved me thousands of dollars over the last few years, and you can choose your plan. It's a no-brainer. Find out. Make the free call, 888-325-0605. Get covered like me and thousands of others, 888-325-0605.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. As we're going to chat with Rich Hollenberg here in a second. We're brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center and the Jeeves Law Group. If your car was totaled in an accident, you don't think you got what you deserved, you probably didn't, because that's what insurance companies do. You can call the Jeeves Law Group, see if you have a case. It is a free call, so contact them through the website at jeeveslawgroup.com and tell them JP sent you. All right, let's bring in our good friend Rich Hollenberg from Bally Sports Sun, also does college basketball for ESPN. What's up, Rich? How are you, my friend?
Gentlemen, it's good to be back with you.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. And are you looking forward to the Springsteen concert coming up?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit?
A little bit. 9 sleeps away, as I said this morning.
9 sleeps away. Now, have you got any inklings about what this tour is going to be about? Is it more new music, old music? What do we, he did the Broadway show, or we're going to see a little bit of that. What do you think?
I don't know anything more than what all the, self-proclaimed Springsteen experts on social media know.
Yes.
But what I have been keeping tabs on is what everyone is prognosticating about. There's a ton of people bitching, oh, this is just going to be a greatest hits tour because it might be his last one. He's only going to play his greatest hits. I think we're going to hear 3, 4, maybe 5 songs from Letter to You, his latest studio album. We might hear 1 or 2 songs from that Motown Covers album that he just released about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you're going to have your typical amazing blow the roof off the joint Springsteen show. So if people are bitching about greatest hits, keep in mind that he plays those almost every tour anyway. You're going to hear Born to Run. You're going to hear 10th Avenue Freeze Out. You're going to hear Rosalita. Why not? Who wouldn't celebrate that, especially since we haven't seen Springsteen on a concert tour with the E Street Band in about 7 years it's been, JP. It's crazy.
7 years?
Yeah, 2016 was his last tour. He did the Broadway show in 2018. That was the last time I saw him, and anybody else saw him unless you were at a one-off recently in the last year or so.
Yeah, the 2016 concert was phenomenal. It was so good. That was tremendous. And I didn't see the Broadway thing. You did, and you liked it.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, usually once a show I'm brought to tears at a Springsteen concert.
You better be, yeah.
At the Broadway show, it was 2 hours, and his concerts, as you well know, JP, are closer to 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours, I must have cried 5 times. It was a tour de force. It was phenomenal, fantastic stuff.
It's good stuff. And that's, I want to talk about this too. There's an event before the concert over at AMSO.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that for Feeding Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. When I found out that the tour was being started in our backyard at Amalie Arena, I said, I want to do something special, like welcoming all my fellow Springsteen fans from all over the country and all over the world to Tampa. You and I have seen shows together in Amalie. It's a fantastic venue.
It really is.
The fact that they're starting the tour in Tampa is really special to me. This could be the last time we're doing it. So I wanted to roll out the red carpet and put on a great show before the show. So I got together with the folks at AMSO. I'm good friends with Paul Greenberg. He started American Social in Fort Lauderdale. I've spent a lot of time there over the summers doing Ray's studio work in Fort Lauderdale. So Paul and I know each other. And I said, it's a 10-minute walk from the station, from the arena. It's a perfect venue. If you've never been to American Social,
it's
you've
awesome.
got to get there. It is top notch. And then I'm friends with the head of Feeding Tampa Bay, Thomas Mantz, who is a great friend and a great friend to the Tampa Bay Rays as well. They partner up on a lot of different things. And as you well know, JP, Bruce always, whatever city he's in, whatever venue he's in, always shouts out whatever the local food bank is, trying to encourage the Springsteen fans to donate to that charity. Well, Feeding Tampa Bay is that charity. So all of those things kind of came together in a confluence, and I got the parties together, and everybody was on board from Jump Street. So the details are February 1st, 4 to 6 p.m. at American Social Tampa, which is right over that bridge on Harbor Island. And we're going to have drink specials. We're going to have food specials. It's $25 to get in at the door, but you're going to be in a private party of nothing but Springsteen fans.
Cool.
And it's a great way to get ready for the first show of the tour around people who you are certainly bonded to, and doing it for a great cause as well.
I'm sure there'll be a Springsteen DJ spinning the ones and twos and getting ready for the concert.
Springsteen music to warm us up.
Absolutely. Fantastic. All right. Let's talk a little Rays baseball. And, I think a lot of Rays fans are a little disappointed by the offseason. They were hoping for a big bat. There's not, to this point, we haven't found one. And basically we're going with the same offense as we had last year. Is this something we should be excited about, and why? If we can. I know there were a lot of injuries last year. Almost everybody underperformed offensively. So even a regression to the mean will be an improvement.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a loaded question, JP, because I will say, I don't think that, between now and March, the end of March, when the regular season starts, I think there will be some new names that come into the fold. I don't know if it's going to be names that will blow us away, but we shouldn't be expecting any names that blow us away. That's just not how the Rays operate. I do think that the fact that they're going to arbitration with someone like Yandy Diaz is a little bit of surprise to me. I think most expectations were that after the season ended, Yandy was gone. I mean, there's no reason to have someone like Yandy Diaz because of the people they have in place already ready to fill that spot at third base and some at first base. No surprise that G-Man Choi isn't there anymore, but maybe that's a reason why you hold on to someone like Yandy.
Right.
I think the entire season, and I hate to sound like I'm being full of hyperbole on one person, but I really do think that this entire season hinges on one man, and that's Wander Franco.
Yeah.
If Wander stays healthy, I think he's an all-star and potentially an MVP candidate. I don't think the Rays have ever, outside of maybe Evan Longoria coming off his Rookie of the Year campaign back in 2008, I don't think they've ever had a fulcrum point type of a player like Wander Franco. If he stays healthy and comes into this season at 100%, which he wasn't last year,
right,
I think this entire offense takes on a whole new face. And then you've got guys, like you said, everybody underperformed. Harold Ramirez didn't underperform. He overperformed. And that's the guy I think they're expecting, like you said, they're not expecting all-star caliber play from Harold Ramirez, but they'll take something close to 75, 80% of what he delivered last year.
Yeah.
The big question mark is, are they going to get a left-handed power bat?
Right.
They need it. They want it, and they'll find a way to patch something together where they could plug it in. They're not going to go in the season going, well, we swung and missed on everybody that we tried for, so we're going to try and win without a left-handed power bat. They're going to find one in the system or out of the system somewhere between now and the end of spring training.
And we're thinking that Josh Lowe is that guy, maybe. I mean, we hoped it was last year. It didn't happen. You know, maybe he just wasn't ready. Maybe it was too much pressure because there was a lot. I mean, when you trade away a guy with 104 RBIs and you're expected to put that out there, that's not easy for anybody. And he clearly wasn't ready. And maybe it was too much pressure to put on him. But I guess Rays fans will say, what will be different this year? Less pressure?
I think there's a little less pressure. I think there's certainly more experience.
Sure.
So he got more than his taste and more than his share of major league at bats. I don't think Josh is necessarily a left-handed power bat, quote unquote. He's an all-around player.
Yeah.
And now that Kevin Kiermaier is out of the picture, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, that opens up a slot in the outfield. And if there's one thing I do have full confidence in, it's Josh Lowe's outfield abilities. So the Rays will not drop off necessarily in outfield. I'm not taking anything away from KK. He's a plus outfielder. He will be for the Blue Jays. But KK's on the way down. Let's face it. He's in his 30s. He's on the way down. Josh Lowe is still on his way up.
Yep.
You have a healthy Manuel Margot. You've got all the pieces in the outfield again. And let's not forget, when we talk about health and injuries, Brandon Lau is going to come back, and he could be that piece that we're talking about. You know, is he going to hit 38 home runs? Is he going to hit 100 RBIs? We don't know, but we do know, and I know the Rays feel this way very strongly. A healthy Brandon Lau is as quality a left-handed power bat as there is, especially for his position, as there is in the American League. So they're going to roll the dice on that as well.
Yeah, and also, too, on the additions. I mean, you just mentioned Brandon Lau, who I was going to get to. I mean, you went the majority of the season without Brandon Lau, without Wander Franco, and the big one, Tyler Glasnow, who I think we may have underestimated how important he is to that rotation, because now you have a three-headed monster, right, with McClanahan and Rasmussen. You could just speak to what you think is in store for Tyler Glasnow this season now that he's completely healthy.
Well, Nick, when you look at the big picture in the American League, like not just the AL East, which will always be a gauntlet, I still think the Red Sox are a ways off.
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees are going to compete. We know that. The Blue Jays and the Orioles are going to compete. They're on the come up. But I don't think the window's closed on the Tampa Bay Rays yet. And one example I could give you is look at the Houston Astros. They lost Justin Verlander. Okay? You name me an American League team that you would go to war with a better 1-2 than Tyler Glasnow and Shane McClanahan. You won't find one. I mean, we could spend the rest of the day trying to go over the top of the rotation for every team in the American League. You will not find a better 1-2 than Glasnow McClanahan or McClanahan Glasnow. Then you throw in a Drew Rasmussen and some of the other arms that they will recycle some way, somehow. And I think pitching will again be the strength of this team.
Sure.
And they will get enough offense better than last year to once again compete not only for a wild card spot, but possibly for another division crown this year.
Yeah, I think if you look around the AL East, once a beast, I have no idea what Boston's doing. That's just bizarre in a lot of different ways. Players are keeping players that they've let get away.
Yeah.
The Yankees don't even, seem to be what they used to be in terms of making sure they get everybody back, but they did what they could. The Yankees still don't scare me because their pitching staff, and I think the Rays have always matched up well with them. And, I think Toronto is incredibly talented, but you just wonder what's the missing piece there. They just don't. I mean, how much more talent can you have and not win nothing? And Baltimore is on the up and come, but I don't think they're. So I would agree with you that division. I mean, just go through the division and tell me who you think has improved themselves or who's not.
Well, I listen, I think that, on par, I would say I would go into this season being most fearful of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Now, I said that last year too, and they disappointed us.
Yep.
But as far as a young nucleus of a team,
oh my God,
I mean,
they're loaded.
now you've got to say it's now or never.
Right.
Because it's been that way for the last 2 seasons, right?
Yeah.
But now you could say, Vladdy Jr., Bo Bichette, they are proven not just stars, they are proven superstars in this league. If they have the right mix of pitching, and it looked like they did last year, and like you said, JP, for some reason, things just don't work out. They get rid of Charlie Montoyo. I understand because the pressure's on. So what Toronto team is going to show up? Is KK going to be the difference? No. Kevin Kiermaier is not a difference maker at this point in his career, but they've got money to spend. So if they're in the hunt around the All-Star break, around the trade deadline, they're going to keep pushing and making moves. I'm not sold on the depth of that Toronto team. I'm not sold on their minor league system. You never hear any of the experts bragging about what they have on the rise in Toronto's farm system like they do with the Tampa Bay Rays.
Right.
So really, when you think about it, given the recent history, yes, I think Toronto could be the favorite in the American League East. But do not sleep on the Baltimore Orioles because John Means missed all of last year. He's an all-star caliber pitcher. If he comes back and he's healthy, we saw what that young pitching staff was like, especially in the second half of last year. Mm-hmm. They've got some young pieces offensively as well. I think they could be a sleeper team to make the playoffs come September next year.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about obviously the best players on this team, but there's always one guy to me every year for the Rays that we don't even talk about. It happens every year that comes through. I mean, Joey Wendell to me was that guy for a few years. Who's that guy this year that we're not talking about that you think is going to be a big time contributor, whether it's in the lineup or in the rotation or the bullpen, whatever it may be?
It's a good question, Nick, because this year I think there are more question marks than we've had in the last couple of years. Albeit, like I said, in what I still think is an open window for them to challenge for a World Series. Believe it or not, I'm going to go with Francisco Mejia. And here's why. Francisco Mejia was one of the guys who went through arbitration, right? He was a guy who every time they put him in the lineup, he seemed to produce. And then he got injured. And they have the biggest question mark right now than they've had in the last 3 or 4 years behind the plate. Who's going to be the A catcher? Who's going to be the number one catcher for them? Mike Zunino's gone. Thanks for the effort. Good riddance, Mike Zunino. Is Frankie Mejia good enough and reliable enough to be that guy? He's a switch hitter. He's shown he has a little pop, especially from the left side of the plate. The one thing is, does Kyle Snyder and Kevin Cash and the rest of that coaching staff have the faith that he could be good enough defensively to handle this uber talented staff? You have to be a special kind of defensive catcher to be able to handle a Tampa Bay Rays staff because they throw arms at you like the markings on a clock. Yeah. I mean, there are arm angles from 12 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Righties, three-quarter arms, side arms, submarine, you name it. They're coming at you from all different angles. So you've got to be a special kind of defensive catcher to have that. And that's the biggest knock on Frankie Mejia. Can he handle that pitching staff? To a man, everyone who's played with him the last couple of years is okay with that. And maybe going into this season in spring training, they're going to say, Frankie, this is your time. So you need to put in the extra work. And they have the coaching staff that could do that. Kevin Cash, former catcher. Kyle Snyder is not just a pitcher whisperer, but he deals with the catchers as well, obviously. So I think he could be the biggest X factor this year for the Tampa Bay Rays.
All right, last question. Talk about new guys. I was going to ask you that question as well, so I'll throw a couple names at you. Jonathan Aranda, I think, is going to have a big year, and I think he might be a guy that kind of solidifies a position. I love when he comes up, he just seems to put the barrel on the ball.
Yeah.
I know defensively he's not the greatest, but I think he can have a good offensive year. And then from a pitcher's standpoint, I'm curious to see what happens with Taj Bradley. What do you think he's in the mix? What are your thoughts on those two guys?
You know what? If the Rays staff stays healthy, I think he might still be a year off.
Right.
Maybe a September call up, but he's getting all the accolades and progressing the way that you could only dream of from a top pick like that. I mean, he's all-star caliber, player of the year caliber in the minor leagues. Will that and does that translate to major league pitching against major league hitters? I always go back to, old man that I am, I always go back to 2008. It's hard to believe that it was that long ago. But when David Price got that call up and they were able to use him essentially out of the bullpen as just an electric arm, maybe that's what Taj Bradley is. Maybe he is that additional arm later in the season. Now, God forbid, knock wood, they need him because of injuries earlier in the season. It'll be interesting to see how he handles that. My gut tells me he's still a year off. My gut tells me that the Rays front office hope that they could groom him for another year. But certainly he kind of slots in exactly the way that the Rays scouting department and farm system has been for any number of years. Pitching first, pitching second, pitching third. And Taj Bradley fits that mold of all those pitchers that we could all name through the years that have come up through the system and through the rotation and been major contributors at the major league level.
All right, Rich, great stuff as always, my friend. I'm looking forward. What do we got? Pitchers and catchers, 3 weeks away?
A few weeks away.
Yeah, a few weeks away.
It's not 9 sleeps away, but it's a few weeks away.
And once again, if you're interested in the pre-party for the Springsteen concert, AMSO, love that place. One of my favorite places to hang out. 4 to 6 before the party, before the concert, $25 to get in, and you get your first drink free, and you get all kinds of drinks and food specials. So
February 1st, right around the corner.
I will see you there, partner.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Hollenberg there. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll get back, and we'll get into a little bit more of the NFL games yesterday, and then Chris Lugo is going to join us at 11:45 to talk about the Mahomes injury and the Jalen Hurts injury moving forward. Quick break brought to you by the great folks at the Jeeves Law Group, Bay Area Modern Medical Center, Italiano Insurance. Yeah, great time to do your insurance checkup, folks. It's not just what you make, it's what you keep, and they can save you a lot of money with your home insurance, your car insurance. You may be paying too much. You just don't know. Let them do all the work. You save all the money. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com. Quick break. Be back. Talk some NFL. Stay with us.
JP here for Italiano Insurance. If you've started a side hustle during COVID and the business has grown, well, you need business insurance, because if you get sued, you could lose all your personal wealth if you're not properly protected. That's right. Your home, your savings, everything could go. So get protected now. Call the great agents at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799, and a real human will answer the phone and get you protected. If you haven't shopped your business insurance in a while, you could be overpaying by thousands. One customer had their golf buddy handling his business insurance, then called Italiano to shop it around, and they saved him $26,000 a year. Yeah, so call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Italiano Insurance, protecting all the pieces of your life for over 60 years.
Hey, folks, it's still engagement season, and where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source. The Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country, a literal jewelry supercenter with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. You don't have to wait to spend any extra time waiting for them to bring something in. They have everything right there in-house, so why go anywhere else? And you can get up to 15% off this January if you buy something with the birthstone, which is garnet. Garnet and gold, Florida State, get something for your favorite Seminole. And let's not forget the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Very affordable, real gold and diamond jewelry, always stylish and unique. Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching, modern, geometrical shapes. Really unique stuff. Got to check it out. And, of course, Julie and Steve Weintraub, great benefactors here in the local community. So let's keep it local. And you can get 0% financing for up to 5 years. Get a big ring for a little price. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. We appreciate you guys jumping in here today. We are brought to you by our new sponsor, the Valspar Championship, coming up March 16th to the 19th. There's going to be all kinds of fun going on over there. Jordan Spieth, who hasn't played in 5 years, will be joining the field. Of course, his 13 PGA Tour victories, 3 majors, so we'll see him there. Sam Burns, which always is a great field at the Valspar Championship. They've got the Owl's Nest again, the Snake Pit Club, and this year they are adding something called the Rooftop that we found out. And this is going to be on top of all the suites around 18, and they're going to be bringing in big-name people that will be hanging out up there. It's going to be where you want to be. They'll be, you can go and meet a Rondé Barber, or there's celebrities all over the place. So they're going to ask them to come on up and spend a few minutes talking to the fans. So that's going to be a cool little place. So that's new this year. The Rooftop, we'll tell you more about that as we move along. Of course, there's the Saturday night concert with Darius Rucker that comes with your Saturday ticket. That's going to be awesome. So we got St. Patrick's Day on the Friday. So you wear green every day. There's going to be something fun. So the Valspar Championship, not just a golf tournament, folks. It's a social event. So get your tickets at valsparchampionship.com, and we welcome them as a new sponsor to the show. Well, they are each and every year. So, all right. So storylines from this weekend. Obviously, the big storyline is, and we're going to talk with Chris Lugo about this in a little bit. Patrick Mahomes injured, but the Chiefs do what they have to do to get through and beat a game Jacksonville team. It was I thought a decent performance by Jacksonville. It's a team on the rise, certainly with Trevor Lawrence. But the Chiefs, I think moving forward with Mahomes, they're just so dependent on him. And if he can't be at his best, I don't know if they can move forward.
Are they? I watched Chad Henne come in right away cold, throwing 2 passes all year long. Old man Chad Henne.
Yeah.
And he took them on a
still in the league.
Yeah, 98-yard scoring drive. Chad Henne took them on. So, and you know what they did in this game? They committed to the run.
Yeah.
And Pacheco,
that guy
he can scoop.
He can motor.
He can
brings
move.
A wallop too.
He can move. I think he got close to 100 yards. He had a really long run. He runs angry.
He does.
He could win angry runs every single week, I feel like.
He runs fast and he runs hard.
Yeah.
And he won't last in the league more than 3 years.
I don't know, but he
runs too hard.
He's fun to watch though. And I think that's what makes them like not as dependent. Because I mean, Mahomes, I say only threw 30 times in that game, but that's not really a lot, honestly. They ran a lot in that game, almost as much as they passed. So, and they were able to get it done. So as usual, I think Kansas City once again just showed that they are the best in the league.
But I don't think they're beating Cincinnati. What Joe Burrow did yesterday in the snow, Jamar Chase, he's just such a good player. But Burrow's his ability to and by the way, that was a touchdown. I'm so sick of the NFL micromanaging these games it's blowing snow. The dude comes up he throws a perfect pass between 2 guys. Jamar Chase high points the ball, brings it in, gets 2 feet down in the snow. Milano reaches in after the play is over and reaches at the ball. He's already got 2 feet down. He's already established it. He's falling out of bounds. I mean, how far can we go? Are they going to wrestle for the ball? And if the ball comes loose, it's not a catch. I mean, what are we doing? And he catches the ball. He possesses it. Did it move of course it moved. It's a 250-pound guy, but he never lost control of the ball.
Yeah,
one of the coaches on Twitter's like, both of his hands and his arms came off the ball. I mean, what? Then you're not holding anything. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. He held on to the ball through the catch. Yes, it moved, but in the spirit of the game, it's a great play. And we're saying that's not a catch. Come on.
I hate it. It's like a cross. It's like the same thing in like the NBA where somebody posters somebody.
It's not what replay was meant to do. Yeah. Micromanage the ball, moving a little bit. He caught the ball. Yeah. He got 2 feet in, touchdown, whatever.
Yeah. I'm happy it didn't change the game.
Yeah, I'm happy it didn't. Could have changed the game.
No, there's the best. That was not. I tell you what, for all the hype that had in that game, Burrow versus Allen and everything, that game did not live up to the hype, and a lot of it came down to Buffalo just did not look ready to go.
Well, Buffalo can't run the football.
No, they cannot.
Can't run the football. They're all Josh Allen dependent. Everybody knows it now. We kind of figured out.
And he's been off.
Yeah, and he's because the league evolves, right? And now everybody knows now that they're completely Josh Allen dependent.
Go look at it. Go look at the turnover numbers and some of the mistakes with and without Brian Daboll.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing. And Daboll was able to make him play safer, and now he's just turning the ball over. He plays with such reckless abandon. I get it, but you got to be smarter, and you just got to be better with the football in there. And they can't rush the passer now without Von Miller. So
Yeah.
Buffalo's just not that great a football team, and Cincinnati is.
Yeah.
And their defense is better than I thought it was.
Yeah, and they're playing really. It seems like ever since Brady made that comment about they're an average defense or whatever,
Yeah.
it seems like they've gone to a different level. Have they not?
And they've had some injuries.
This
on
is a
defense,
team
too.
that
Yeah.
if you say anything about them in the media or you disrespect them, they take it personal.
They really do.
They really take it personal. And to your point about Burrow and Mahomes, I think Burrow is this generation's Tom Brady.
He is.
I think Mahomes is this generation's Rodgers, but with a winning edge.
Yeah, and a better attitude and more team friendly.
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison for
I do
those two.
too. Yeah, and I think with Mahomes hurt, I just don't see how they over. I don't think even with a healthy Mahomes, they're going to beat.
Well, they
Joe
can't
Burrow
beat.
and
They haven't been able
Cincinnati.
to beat Cincinnati at all.
Burrow's just too good. His ball placement is just unbelievable. He always knows who to throw to, and he can run too. He can get out. He can get out and scoot when he needs to scoot, and he can change he can do so much. I don't see anybody beating Cincinnati. Of course, the Cowboys lose, and everybody's all over Dak Prescott. It's interesting how good Dak Prescott looked against the crappy Bucs defense.
We told you that one.
And everybody thought, look, I think Dak's okay. The problem with Dak is he can't run anymore. And I don't know if that's something that's going to haunt him the rest of the way. But, we've talked about this before. That injury to his calf just doesn't seem to have healed. He didn't run at all yesterday. The picks, and he probably could have had 3 or 4 or 5 picks yesterday, or not good. But I think it's funny that everybody on Get Up, everybody who's screaming for Dak to get paid for 3 years, now suddenly says they can't win with Dak.
I tell you what, maybe I'm part of this probably, but I feel bad for Dak. I feel bad. Being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys is hard.
Yeah.
And he stands there like a grown man and answers every question. He put the entire loss on him.
He did.
How many quarterbacks you see do that?
Not many.
Not many. He did it.
Tom
He
Brady.
knows. He's self-aware. Like, is he the greatest quarterback in the world? No. But my goodness, he wins divisions for this team. He gets them into the playoffs. He can win a playoff game. Yeah, you need some things to go your way. I mean, I told you coming into this game, I think Dallas is San Francisco light. The difference is Dak's got to be a B+ to an A quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And Brock Purdy's got to he can play a C+ B quarterback, and they can work.
And with losing Tony Pollard in the second quarter
Tony Pollard
did not help
hurt
them. Yeah, that because you basically now you got a plotting running game with Zeke. They know it. San Francisco knows it.
Yeah.
Purdy wasn't gonna. Purdy didn't make the big mistake that was going to cost them, and they did enough that to get it done.
He continues to check every box.
I just think, look, Dak's your quarterback anyway. The contract shows you that. I still think Dak is good enough to win you a Super Bowl, but it's hard. It's hard. And now is Mike McCarthy a good enough coach? I mean, look, if you can get Sean Payton, go get Sean Payton.
He was rough at the end of the game, and the clock management.
I don't like. Of course, Dalton Schultz made both of the bonehead plays.
Very.
You can't. You got to know that you got to be moving forward when you're going to the sideline. And clearly, the 49ers knew it, and he did not. Either he didn't know it, or he wasn't aggressive enough to do it. And then, how do you not get your second foot down? And of course, the last play of the game, they weren't going to score on it anyway, but it just made them look stupid.
Zeke getting just bulldozed. I hate that's how his Cowboys time comes to an end. Him getting bulldozed over for one of the worst play calls I've ever seen.
Well, I don't know what the play call was.
I don't know what the play call was,
didn't
but
get to it.
You can't convince me it was slant over the middle into a sea of 49ers. Was that the call?
I think it was Turpin was supposed to, catch the ball and pitch it to somebody clearly, but the 49ers jumped on him so quickly he didn't have a chance to do it. So whatever, you got to fumble it at least backwards. What else? Who are we?
The other game was so forgettable because it was over right away.
Yeah, and Lane Johnson is back, which was I think almost
surprising. He's just playing through everything.
Not more important than Jalen Hurts, but important. Look, the Eagles are there, and this is what I mentioned the Eagles in the first part of the show as the template to rebuild. They scrapped their Super Bowl winning coach. They scrapped their quarterback of the future that they had paid in Carson Wentz, and they rebuilt quickly. They kept the good assets that they needed. They went and got a quarterback, and now look where they are.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a roster. The offensive and defensive lines are dominant. I knew they would smash the Giants. I think I went 4 for 4 in my picks this week, by the way. Yeah. But they're freaking good. And this is going to be a great game against San Francisco. And I think the key is Jalen Hurts, which will transition into Chris Lugo from Bay Area Modern Medical Center, who we're going who is going to help us through some of these injuries. And I know you're not treating the players, but you're a big football fan. You see the plays, you watch what happens. Say good morning to you. How are you? How was your week?
JP, good morning, Nick. How's it going, guys?
Good morning.
Good. Did you get a little Children's Gasparilla in this weekend?
I was playing Army this weekend.
That's right, you were. You lucky dog.
Yeah.
Oh,
better than
darn.
Gasparilla.
Darn, I missed it, right?
Right.
Exactly. So you saw the Mahomes injury.
I did, actually.
I think this is obviously going to be a huge key to this game. What were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, first you've got to define a sprain versus a strain versus a fracture. I think in the line of work that you guys do, and you'll probably you've heard it over the decades from interviewing a lot of these athletes, is they would rather fracture something than sprain something.
Yeah.
So a sprain is a tearing of the ligaments, right? And that's a long, nagging injury that can come and go. Same thing with tearing a tendon from a muscle. That's a long, Dak Prescott, his calf thing, right? That's just a muscle tear versus a tendon tear, which is just nagging for years. These guys would rather break a bone, mobilize it, 3 months later, good to go, rock solid. I'm surprised he played the rest of that game. I mean, he was hobbling. I was watching him limp, trying to get, every place, try to run and limp at the same time. Difficult to do. And then Pollard's, that was a nasty little roll that he had on. Yeah. So do we know if he actually fractured or was it?
He fractured his.
Broke the fibula,
broke the fibula. So he's, I mean, obviously they're done anyway. So, but with Mahomes, you're right. They're talking about a high ankle sprain, which typically is, a 6 to 8 week injury at best. How does he come back and play this week? On his plant foot too, right? It's his right leg.
Better living through modern chemistry, I guess. I don't know. It's gonna be difficult, and then that defensive line is gonna sense blood in the water, and they're just gonna go after it, right? And that's one reason why I think in hockey they keep their cards close to their chest and they say, "Hey, it's a lower body injury, it's an upper body injury." They don't let them know what the offense, the other team is, so they can go after that injury.
Yeah, and just in terms of, like, I heard Mahomes say, "Hey, I'm just going to rehab it this week and get treatment on everything." It's just physically impossible to do that on a high ankle sprain, right? I mean,
100%. It's not going to be able to come back the way he's not going to be 100%. If they can get him back at least 75, protect him in the pocket, maybe. But he's gonna be a house of cards. I think he'll crumble easily once someone rolls that ankle or hits it hard, and they're going to go after it. I would. Why not?
Exactly. So, all right, let's move on to Jalen Hurts here. And he's had this AC joint sprain in his throwing shoulder. I don't know if you watched much of the Eagles game, but it looked to me like he was throwing without pain. And I know that's an injury that's easily re-injurable, if that's a term. What do you think about his injury and moving forward through the championship game and maybe Super Bowl?
All right, so that AC joint, that acromioclavicular, is at top up here, and that's where the collarbone kind of meets the shoulder here. It's got varying degrees, 1, 2, 3, 4 separation. Usually 4, your clavicle sticking up by your ear. You can't miss that. Yeah. One of the guys in my unit, actually, I was chatting with him on the weekend. He actually had a 3rd degree AC. He waited a year to get that thing fixed, and now it's a nagging, aching injury that won't go away 4 years later. I don't know what degree that Hurts's AC separation is, but it's probably a 1st or 2nd. I think if they can just keep it mobilized, tape him up really good, I think he's going to be fine.
All right, so he'll move forward. All right, well, there's obviously some other topics out there from a health standpoint, and we're seeing a lot of younger kids, younger athletes having cardiac issue. We saw it with Damar Hamlin. I mean, a lot of athletes are having these issues. We haven't, to my knowledge, we haven't seen this in recent history, have we?
I've been practicing medicine for 23 years. I haven't seen this. This is insane. I know we chatted offline, but I was dead serious last week, 2 weeks ago, when I pinged one of my master sergeants. I'm like, "Hey, God, we need to get an AED in our unit, because from what we do in our unit, we really work candidates hard, especially in the summer months. It scares the hell out of me. It really and truly scares the hell out of me, knowing that all these athletes, all these young kids are having heart issues right now. I don't want that happening to us in the middle of that's the last thing that the Army needs, is have an incident brought to light. Some incident. It's scary. And I don't have an explanation for it. I don't want to play devil's advocate. Am I going to blame COVID? I could easily. Could I blame COVID? Could I blame the vaccine combination of things? Yeah. I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any means. Hell, in the Army, we love vaccines, but it's the vaccines that we've been using for decades that are kind of tried and true, that we know that we've had no issues with. These ones that have come out recently that are emergency use only, I got a lot of guys push back on it. And thank God the Congress came out and reversed about face status on that and kept all my guys in my unit, which was awesome.
Are the ones that had to leave, are they allowed to come back? Have they figured
That's a
that
great
out?
question. I think that's going to be behind the curtain things that some of these guys will be allowed back.
That'd be good.
I'm
so,
open.
and if you're a young athlete and you've either taken the vax or not taken the vax, is there anything parents can do, people can do? Is there something should you get a scan to find out what's going on with your heart? What would you say?
Unfortunately, these things you can't find, right? So at the the Buffalo game this weekend, they were talking about it. Someone mentioned that he was on oxygen. I don't know if that was true or not. Look, the guy's 24 years old. He had a cardiac arrest. Why is he on oxygen? I've discharged many patients out of the hospital post-cardiac arrest on no oxygen. And they're 70 years old, 80 years old, a lot worse condition than this guy. Why is this guy on oxygen? It doesn't make sense. You and I chatted on last one. The guy was pronated on his stomach. These are things that we've never done before. That's why I think there's more to the story than what they're letting on to believe. Or maybe he's in a part of a new study. Who knows? I doubt it. But it's just weird. But unfortunately, we don't have any things that I've had patients call me wanting to get detoxed of COVID or detoxed from the vaccine. There's nothing out there right now, unfortunately. The only thing I could recommend right now is, hey, maybe do some fish oils. Keep your blood a little bit on the thinner side by using fish oils, which everyone should be using fish oils because they're great for anti-inflammation, anti-inflammatories, along with turmeric, but poisons in the dose. Make sure you're getting enough fish oil. I usually recommend 8 to 10 grams a day. Anything we can do naturally to kind of help out, I think that's going to be key. But otherwise, there's nothing out there that's tried and true.
All right, partner, good stuff. And if folks want to get in touch with you, it's BAMMC.com, right? And
Roger that.
And give them your phone number. Let them know if they can call you and get appointments anytime.
844-789-2266, which is BAM, B-A-M-M.
All right, cool. We'll talk to you next
guys.
week. Appreciate it.
Sounds great. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you for your service as well. He was out playing military last week. That's good. Keep us safe. All right, any other notes that we got to get here today? Over the weekend, the Bruce Boudreau. I don't think I've ever seen fans cheering for a coach to stay. Like, it's always get rid of our coach. But this one is they're getting one. That was weird.
I tell you what, hockey might not be
takes over.
Hockey might not be in the forefront of the national media, but when we put together a list of worst run franchises, the Vancouver Canucks are up there. They have fired 8 different members of head coaching staff, the head coach or general manager in the last decade. 8. You know how many the Lightning have had during that time? They've had 2 GMs and 1 head coach.
Yeah.
So when you want to look at the opposite parallels there, the coach is always a scapegoat. Bruce Boudreau has won a lot of games in this league, and he gets left out to dry. And what's so sad about it, I was just listening to him. He was on Sirius XM this morning, the day after he was fired. And he said that he's known since about October 8th, which is when the season began. He's like, I knew I was going to get fired at some point. I just didn't know when.
Right.
What kind of way is that of running a franchise? Of
Stupid.
A coach knowing that it's going to happen at some point and leaving him out there to dry?
Stupid. Dumb. Thank God our franchise doesn't run like that.
Literally.
There's an interesting story that popped up yesterday. Ed Reed, who was going to the Pro Football Hall of Famer, University of Miami, Ravens, Super Bowl champion, was going to coach Bethune-Cookman, and it's all falling apart. He couldn't get the contract because he could not get the folks at Bethune-Cookman to agree to do the things that were needed for the players. Reed ripped the school in a profanity-laced social media post that went viral.
Oh yeah.
He accused Bethune-Cookman of having a dirty campus and failing to clean his office as he arrived. Threatened to leave them, saying he was cleaning out the trash while not even being under contract.
Yeah. Have you seen any of those things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Built full buildings full of trash.
Yeah.
And that's his first interaction with players is, hey guys, we got to go pick up all the trash around this campus because nobody else is going to do it, and I'm tired of looking at it.
It is a lot of problems, and HBCUs have been undervalued. They need more support, but even the support that the people that are running a lot of these college campuses need to clean up their act.
Oh, and he said it too. I think in one of his quotes was
that's from him, not
from him. He said broken mentalities out here.
Yeah. I mean, I covered FAMU for a while, and FAMU is one of the predominant HBCUs. And, for my time there, I thought FAMU was one of the really great run school. I mean, I took a lot of classes there, and they take a lot of pride in what they do, and we're very good on the football field for a long time. They've had issues, but they've had issues in their hierarchy over the years. They really have. And I think, shining the light on HBCUs is great, but their leadership needs to step up.
Yeah, and
that's unacceptable for those students to have to put up with that.
And you probably know more about Ed Reed than I do, obviously, because I'm sure you covered many games that he was a part of.
Yeah.
Class
act.
No BS, obviously.
No BS,
you cannot put a front on for him.
No, this ain't some whiny overpaid entitled football player. He's anything but.
No.
He's a lot like Dion. He's no nonsense. And when Dion went to Jackson State, he had a lot of issues to clean up there. And they couldn't, the city of Jackson couldn't even get a clean drinking water.
This is who the hell wants to take this coaching job at this point? Because if you chase off Ed Reed, knowing the impact that a Deion Sanders had at one of your competitions, one of your rivals, who wants to coach here? If you chase off Ed Reed,
right, yeah,
you might as well just close the program.
Yeah, and they you can support them and give great. They need more money, need more financial support, but they got to do things with it. How about emptying the trash? Let's start with that.
Yeah,
crazy,
which it's good to see
stuff.
that Willie Simmons, the one who USF was interested in, it seems like he's got it going on pretty good over there in FAMU.
He really does, and he's got the backing, and people are stepping up over there, and that's good news. All right, we'll say goodbye for today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate Rich Hollenberg, Chris Lugo, who joined us today. We will be back tomorrow with TJ Reeves and Scott Reynolds. Hoping to have Scott on tomorrow to talk about what's next for the Bucs and Tom Brady. And tomorrow night, big ceremony for Steven Stamkos. We're going to celebrate his 500th goal, so get your tickets for that tomorrow night. We'll certainly have some Steven Stamkos sound on tomorrow, and we'll do a lot of lightning with that tomorrow. I know we didn't do much on it today, but we'll hit that tomorrow. So have a great day, everybody. See you then.